Labeled a murderer, a Richmond man turns to 8 News for help clearing his name.
And 8 News investigative reporter A.J. Legault and photojournalist Ben Arnold have his story in an 8 News special report called They Call Me a Killer.
A bad dream, a bad dream, a bad dream.
Tonight, Richmond police are looking for 27-year-old Rashad Comer and 31-year-old Terrell Collins, who investigators have linked to last Friday's fatal shooting of Lamone Hart.
For Rashad Comer,
and I want to get my name clear to everybody.
The past 3 years have been a long road of nightmares.
A bad dream that I still ain't woke up from.
Here's the scenes of Rashad's bad dream. A body bag on a stretcher, his name and face on TV, a tiny cramped jail cell, and a long list of doors slammed in his face by prospective employers.
Because of that charge, it's painting my character as a murderer.
So how did this man get labeled a killer?
I don't understand how my name even got involved in this case. Like, it's a big shock to me and a mystery to me.
The murder mystery began with gun blasts in the dark on Friday, September 26, 2008, along Maury Street on the city's south side. 20-year-old Lamone Hart is shot while riding his bike. He made it 3 blocks before dying in the street.
I'll never forget that day.
The grief of Lamone's family, friends.
They ain't just take money. They took my boyfriend. They took my future husband. They took my baby father.
And the community was headline news.
This madness has to stop. And if you all know who did this, please contact the police.
A week passes with no arrest. A reward is posted, and suddenly police catch what they think is a break in the case. Rashad gets a call from his dad.
He said, well, you on the news for murder. So I got up, came in to the living room, and I turned the news on.
Tonight, Richmond police are looking for 27-year-old Rashad Comer.
I seen my face on the news for murder with a guy that I didn't even know. My mother was crying, so we trying to calm her down and tell her, Mom, it's gonna be okay.
But it wouldn't be okay. Rashad turns himself in.
I picked up the phone, called 911, told them that I was on the news for murder. I want to turn myself in because it's got to be a mistake.
He's arrested and grilled by detectives.
I didn't know the kid who was shot, the kid they had me on the news with. I know none of them.
No one would listen.
I was expecting to go home. I kept telling them I got to go to work tomorrow. I got my kids to think about. I didn't do it.
Rashad does not have a spotless criminal record, but there are no felonies on it. Booked and charged with premeditated murder, Rashad is thrown in city jail.
It's the worst feeling in the world. Nothing. You just in there, nothing to write with, nothing to read, just you, a toilet, and a bed, 24 hours a day.
That was his life for a month and a half.
They had me for 45 days, but it seemed like 2 years.
And then, when this motion was filed demanding to know what evidence was being used to hold him, both Rashad and his alleged co-conspirator, Terrell Collins, whom Rashad says he'd never even met, were let go with no explanation.
And they cut me loose. Just, they didn't say I'm sorry.
Although never prosecuted, the charge still hangs over his head. It cost him his job, reputation, and years of mental anguish.
When you Google my name, the nightmare comes up all over again. The pictures of me painted as a murderer, suspect.
Rashad is not the only one caught in the nightmare.
We're all still grieving. I have my days where sometimes I wish he'd just call, wake me up out of my sleep.
How has your family been dealing with the aftermath of what happened to Lamone?
3 years later, almost 3 years later, it's still hard every day. Just to think about, you know, him not being here.
What Jacinta Hart, Lamone's sister, and the rest of the family has really struggled with is knowing their loved one's killer still walks free. No one else has ever been arrested.
It's something that we have to struggle with every day, just knowing someone is still out there that could have did it.
When we asked Richmond police about their investigation, they told us it was, quote, closed by arrest. When we asked to see their files, they then refused, citing an open investigation, and now maintain they're still working the case. But our search of their official murder records show Lamone Hart's case still has an A beside it. That A means the case is closed by arrest. The arrest of Rashad Comer.
They feel like they did their part already, that they're not going to even investigate his death anymore.
Sources tell us police have no murder weapon, motive, not a single thing tying Rashad Comer to the murder that happened on this street, except for the word of an informant with a history of drug use and prostitution who only came forward when a reward was mentioned. Rashad also has an identical twin brother. Even family can't always tell them apart. While in no way implicating his brother, Rashad says he doesn't know how police could focus on him and not even speak with his twin. RPD turned down all our requests to interview the detectives involved. While Rashad walks free, he struggled returning to his old life.
I lost my job that I was working for 3 years. So when I came home, I didn't have a job. My child support went up because I couldn't pay it when I got out of jail.
And finding a new job has not been easy when background checks come back showing the murder charge.
People see the murder charge and they think like, whoa, what is this guy into? Like, do we really want him on our work team?
He contacted us seeking help in officially clearing his name. We reached out to John Luxton, a well-respected Richmond defense attorney seeking some legal advice. When he heard Rashad's story, he offered to take his case pro bono and arrange for Rashad to meet with murder prosecutor Learned Berry, who agreed to go before a judge with this signed petition asking for Rashad's record to be officially expunged. In essence, wiped clean, saying not to would be a, quote, manifest injustice. In October, Rashad Comer walked out of court no longer branded a killer on any police or court records.
You are no longer have that label of killer kind of hanging over your head.
Well, as you can see, I'm smiling. It's like the best day of my life. You know, it's been almost 3 years and it's just been rough, so it's like a weight lifted off my shoulders.
A nightmare ended for one man, but still no end in sight for an entire family still grieving.
We can't forget. We don't forget. There's no way we can forget. We have to go through that every day. He always smiled. He always smiled.
With no closure and only a headstone to talk to.
It still remains that it's unsolved. Sometimes I feel like it could be a perfect murder.
Hart's family says someone on these streets knows who killed Lamone, and they're asking them to come forward and give their family some peace. In Richmond, AJ Legault, 8 News.
You can call it modern-day slavery, humans sold for sex. 8 News anchor Amy McLean took a mission trip with her church to one of the top destinations for human trafficking to learn more.
Here in the streets of Pattaya, Thailand, sex is served up like dinner, with orders taken right off a menu, such as the one this man tries to shove in someone's face. The titles and pictures are too graphic to show up close, but you'll see a mouthful here along Walking Street. Welcome to Pattaya. On the surface, this is a beautiful beach resort, but by night, it's a place of violence and sexual abuse for children and women. Located on the coast 100 miles south of Bangkok, Pattaya is one of the top destinations for sex tourism, an industry that generates more than $4 billion a year in Thailand.
I think at the end of the day, it's about money.
Inside of our hotel conference room, Melina Latkova, the director of XP Children's Shelter, explains that many kids are trafficked in from poor neighboring countries like Cambodia. Our mission team from Mount Gilead Full Gospel International Ministries in Richmond is here to learn how we can make a difference. There are 14 of us, all women, and we're here with mission teams from all over the world for a week-long outreach called Operation Extreme Love Thailand. The laws against child abuse are so lenient that Pattaya has become the perfect destination for pedophiles and those addicted to child pornography.
So people who have suppressed that all their life, suddenly for $800 can come here on a plane, buy a child for 1,000 baht, which is $30, and spend an hour with the child and do whatever they want. Children as young as 6 years old can become victims of rape, abuse, and neglect.
Out of the 2.8 million sex workers in Thailand, a 2004 study shows nearly 30% of them are under the age of 18.
This is one of the darkest areas known for pedophilia and child pornography, and so we want to be a light in the darkness.
Sarah Ricketts and her family moved to Thailand from Alabama, and they're opening a safe home for kids called the Bridge Children's Center.
If your mom is a prostitute and she lives above the bar and you live with her, when mom's working, it's pretty hard to sleep. It's pretty hard to feel safe.
The Bridge Center will serve as a daytime preschool and a nighttime child care center. Our team had the chance to roll up our sleeves, pull out the paint, and get to work as the Ricketts transform this vacant building into a place full of hope and a future. We also hit the streets. Many young women from small villages come to Pattaya based on promises of a good-paying job, only to be tricked into prostitution. The bar girls, as they're called, earn about $14 a night. So with the help of translators, our team goes out and pays the bar owners, so a handful of girls do not have to work for the night. We take the young women back to our hotel and hold a party in their honor with the help of a nonprofit group called the Tamar Center. We shower them with roses, gifts, and a hot meal. They also hear from former prostitutes like 25-year-old Kung. She tells us she took a job at a bar in Pattaya to cover medical bills for her young daughter, but she didn't know she would be forced to have sex.
There came a day when I needed to sleep with the customers. Otherwise, I would lose my job. I got paid, but I was hurting and I missed my daughter.
The Tamar Center came to her rescue. They help women learn culinary and cosmetology skills so they don't have to sell their bodies for sex. Despite the feeling of hopelessness on these streets, there is a way out. I came here with my team to expose the truth about sex trafficking in Thailand, but you may be surprised to learn that it's happening in our own backyard in Virginia. Hear that part of the story in part 2 of my special report. Sold for sex at 14 years old.
An old man came up and asked her how much, and she gave a price, and I was handed off to him.
Holly Smith's life was never the same.
Once that exchange was over, once I had left his room, I felt like there was no looking back.
But inside her Richmond living room, nearly 20 years later, Holly is finally sharing her story. It happened in 1992, the summer before her first year of high school. She was a rebellious teen looking for someone who cared. That's when she met a guy at the mall who lured her with the promise of love, money, and a better life.
That I could travel across the country in a red Corvette, and I would get to meet famous actors. I'd go to famous cities, I'd go to famous clubs. So I ran away with him.
Within the first 12 hours of running away, Holly was in the streets of Atlantic City, forced to take on a new identity.
And this is what you have to do, and this is your new name, and this is your new birth date and your address. And I had to repeat it back to them. I didn't memorize it.
And at 14 years old, she was forced to sell her body for sex by the pimp and his female friend.
She said, not all guys want to sleep with you. She said some of them want to just talk, and none of them wanted to just talk.
Holly spent nearly 36 hours going from street corners to motel rooms with nearly a dozen men before police arrested her and brought her home.
But that 36 hours changed my life completely. Like, it separated my life into two parts, before Atlantic City and after.
And without any counseling, Holly slipped into depression, became addicted to drugs, and attempted suicide.
For almost 20 years, I've carried that experience with me, and I've always thought it was somehow my fault.
That's until she connected with a nonprofit group for help. Holly's story recently reached the national spotlight, and she's inspiring local agencies to stand up against human trafficking too.
It's the second largest criminal industry in the world, and it's in position to take #1.
She works with Sarah Pomeroy, who started the Richmond Justice Initiative back in 2009. Her group organizes human trafficking symposiums like this one held at the Richmond Police Department in October to make people aware of trafficking in our area.
Typically it starts, anywhere from like North Carolina, they'll go to Virginia Beach, Williamsburg, make a stop in Richmond, head to DC, New York, and then make that that route right back.
Police say they've pinpointed about a dozen areas of activity in South Richmond and northern Chesterfield, especially along Jefferson Davis Highway. But human trafficking is becoming even harder to spot on these streets. Local law enforcement tell me it's because traffickers are becoming more sophisticated. Rather than standing on a street corner, women are oftentimes picked up in a car and taken directly to someone's house or motel room, like an escort service. The Richmond area is considered a target for human sex trafficking because it sits near I-95. Although there are currently no cases of children being trafficked in the area, Holly says it may be happening to a teen you know.
Nobody talked to me about it, so I wonder how many other girls are out there that have gone through this and are now just kind of going through their lives thinking they're the only ones.
For that reason, Holly is currently writing a memoir about the painful experience she endured as a teen.
So I'm hoping that through my memoir I can get my story out to more people and to let girls know that they can change their lives.
Thank you, Nate. Now an 8 News special report. Black market baby. A Richmond woman sold at birth by an illegal adoption ring meets her family for the first time. 8 News investigative reporter A.J. Legault and photojournalist Ben Arnold have her incredible story.
Baby selling, a form of human trafficking, was and is big business. And for one Richmond woman sold on the black market at birth, the search for answers as to who she is and where she comes from has been the journey of a lifetime. This is no ordinary mother and daughter embrace.
Oh my God. Last time I saw you, you were like probably about this big. You were 4 days old.
You're watching a reunion 34 years in the making.
34 years I waited for this. So it's very emotional. The last time I had seen Sarah, she was a baby in my arms.
To understand what makes this moment so special, there's something about Sarah Hudson you have to understand.
I am a black market baby. I was sold for all intents and purposes.
Turn back the clock to 1977. 18-year-old Kathleen Akison is pregnant.
I kept it a secret. Only 2 girlfriends and my boyfriend, who's now my husband, knew what I was going through.
Knowing she can't take care of a baby,
I found an ad in the paper.
It reads, pregnant, undecided, confused, and worried. We care. Thinking about adoption? Call Collect.
When I called the ad in the paper, a woman posed as a nun. She said her name was Sister Marie. Then through the nuns, they said, well, we have a lawyer that can help you out. And that's when Finchel got involved.
Seymour Fenichel, also a rabbi, was supposed to help facilitate an adoption, but it turns out he was a black market baby broker. Court documents show that using the ads in newspapers and supermarket tabloids, he, along with cohorts Harriet and Lawrence Lauer, lured and coerced hundreds of pregnant women into his illegal adoption ring, selling their babies to the highest bidder. Here's how it played out for teenage Kathleen. Fenichel puts her up in a New York City apartment, promising to find her baby a good family. She gives birth in this Long Island hospital.
I actually got to hold her for 3 days.
A woman claiming to be the adoptive mom's sister visits her hospital room.
She was just right with me and hugging me and telling me how brave I was and whatever else, and that her sister was going to be so happy.
They walk out of the hospital together, and then things take a dark twist.
And then all of a sudden, she just grabbed the baby from my arms and jumped in a car with a man sitting in the car, and they locked the doors, leaving my boyfriend and I in the parking lot, and they drove away.
Last time you saw her?
That was the last time I saw her.
That woman who snatched Sarah was not her adoptive aunt. It was, in fact, Fenichel's partner in crime, Harriet Lauer.
That one?
Yeah. That's her? Yeah, that was...
I can just tell.
Kathleen doesn't learn this part of how she was tricked until we show her a picture of Lauer.
That's the one that posted as her sister. And I'm thinking she's a friend, and now it just kind of makes sense. It was really just get the baby and run, because that's exactly what she did.
Fast forward 30-some years, Sarah Hudson, a paramedic in Richmond, develops a nearly fatal blood clot.
I came within hours of dying, and I was in the hospital, I was in the ICU. People kept asking me, what's your family history? What's your family medical history? That's a reasonable question for people to be asked, and I could only respond with, I don't know.
Sarah knew she'd been adopted, and it was now time for answers. When she turned to her adoptive parents for help in tracking down her birth parents, they told her the name of the adoption agency they used, Child Haven of northeastern Pennsylvania, and a lawyer named Seymour Fenichel. Sarah Googled him.
All of a sudden, these articles pull up on the screen that say, "Where have all the babies gone? Black market babies."
Sarah had made a disturbing discovery about her life.
It broke my heart when I found it out.
Fenichel and company were indicted in 1988 for running a large-scale illegal and fraudulent baby-selling business. But Fenichel would never serve prison time for his crimes.
In 1990, he copped a plea deal for 5 years probation and 2,000 hours of community service. He was disbarred and died 4 years later at age 70.
In New York, the birth records of adoptive children are permanently sealed by the court, and dead men tell no tales.
When I found out how I was adopted last year, that dashed all of my hopes.
Hopes of ever finding her birth mom. But Sarah's VCU police officer husband, Tom, would not be deterred.
It took a lot of time.
Sarah's adoptive parents told her they picked her up from Seymour Fenichel in a parking lot.
My adoptive parents don't remember exactly where, they just know that it was out on Long Island.
They had one other clue.
My adoptive mother made it a point to memorize the last name of my biological mother.
With little to go on, Sarah Hudson's quest for answers brought her here to the New York Public Library in Manhattan.
They started searching phone books.
They have telephone books dating back to the Dark Ages.
Archived on microfilm.
The really big lead that we got was finding a gentleman with the same last name. We found out that he had a daughter named Kathleen.
This eventually led them to Facebook.
So I pull my computer over and I type the name in and I pull up this picture, and I wouldn't say that it was instantaneous, but it was pretty quick that I started to notice the similarities in our faces.
A nervous Sarah makes the biggest phone call of her life.
And I said, "My name is Sarah. I know you don't know me." And she said, "If you were born June 18th, 1977, I know exactly who you are." And she said, "I am your biological mother, and you need to know that I married your biological father, and you have 4 full-blooded sisters." And that's when I started crying.
That takes us to a car in Long Island on a recent Sunday afternoon.
Just kind of a ball of nerves, I guess.
As Sarah drives to meet her mother and 4 sisters.
I've waited 34 years for this.
Who've also been dreaming of this day.
Hi. I know right away.
Last time I saw you, I whispered in your ear, "When you're ready to find us, come find us."
All right, girls, here we go. Give me some happiness.
I guess you heard my words.
In New York, AJ Legault, 8 News.
They can happen in an instant, and they happen every day.
It's very difficult with children to see them. They're so small.
Children and adults run over by a driver who couldn't see them behind the vehicle.
I think it's something that many people just feel is not going to happen.
292 people are killed each year in backover crashes. Another 18,000 are injured. 8 News first highlighted the problem with backover crashes during an investigation back in 2004. We put this cone simulating a small child behind SUV drivers in an area parking lot. In all but one of the cases, the drivers ran over them. The drivers looked before they backed up, but they couldn't see the cones because of the blind zones. So Consumer Reports put it to the test to find out how much of a blind zone there is behind different kinds of vehicles like the ones that we've set up here along the parking lot. Now, blind zones can change from manufacturer to manufacturer and from model to model. But here's what Consumer Reports found out. For a sedan, you're looking at a blind spot of roughly 11 feet. For a minivan, that stretches out to 18 feet. For an SUV, 19 feet. And for a pickup truck with a long bed like this one, you're looking at a blind spot of roughly 28 feet.
It's something you absolutely will never get over, and I know I'll carry it with me until I'm ancient and leave this earth.
Meredith Bryant will never forget May 4th, 2005.
She was just, kind and sweet.
That's the day a painter who was at her home and another nearby giving quotes accidentally backed over her daughter Annabelle, who was playing with a baby stroller in their driveway.
The first thing he said when he got out was, "I couldn't see her."
Meredith was just a few steps away from her 2-year-old daughter.
It's extremely traumatic. No parent, nobody should have to see anyone like that, much less their precious, tiny little child.
In the months after the crash, Meredith and her husband created Annabelle's Angels, an organization dedicated to keeping other families from having to endure the pain that they went through.
We wanted to make sure as many people as we could tell knew about it, that this happens a lot. The blind zones are so much bigger than you ever think, and there are ways to prevent it.
It began with selling these inexpensive rear view safety lenses that help show a driver what's directly below the rear window. Thanks to a donation from Audio One, the Bryants had backup cameras installed in their vehicles less than 2 weeks after Annabelle was killed. They traveled to Washington to urge lawmakers to make the safety devices mandatory. So here's how hard it can be to see a child behind a vehicle. Here's what most of us do when we get in the car. We sit down on the seat, we close the door, we put the key in the ignition and start the vehicle. And then we begin checking our mirrors. I check all 3 mirrors, and I don't see anything behind me. But this car is equipped with a backup camera. Watch as I slip it into reverse and the camera comes on. Take a look at what I'm missing. Meredith won't drive a vehicle that doesn't have one. She's happy the government is finally acting to save lives by planning to require them on all new cars by 2014.
It's amazing that it's happening now, and of course, why couldn't it have happened years and years and years and years ago?
She looks forward to seeing more and more cameras on the road. They won't bring Annabelle back, but they might save another child's life.
It does help to keep her memory alive, because if I can help this or prevent it from happening to another family, that makes a difference for us.
Morgan Dean, 8 News.
Justin, charges against a Richmond man involved in this gas station brawl are dropped as a result of an 8 News investigation. AJ Legault has the story you'll see only on 8.
Mr. Reed, what would you say if I told you we're going to walk into court today and all the charges against you will be dropped?
Oh, it really make my day, you know, because it should be dropped. It's an injustice. What happened, you know?
This story that is all about justice began back on November 10th. Scott Reed, a truck driver, was arrested following this wild brawl inside the Cowardin Ave Lucky's Mart. Police took him into custody after receiving a call from the clerk saying there was a wild man inside attacking customers and trashing the store. But when we obtained this surveillance video and rewound to the beginning of the incident, we found that Reed was attacked first and was then assaulted, brutally beaten by a group of men.
I got jumped on. I got kicked. I got punched.
Investigators were unaware of the video until we brought it to their attention.
The officers arrived. The information they got at that moment led them to arrest Scott Reed. Then they hear about the video, they view the video, now they want to talk to other people involved.
But so far, none of those other people have been charged or even ID'd by the police. Despite all this evidence, Scott Reed was convicted of disorderly conduct when he went to court back in February. He says Judge Roop refused to even watch this video. Reed appealed his conviction and was due in court today. Last night, I contacted the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office.
Hello, this is AJ Legault with 8 News. Can I please speak with Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney John Jung, please?
The Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney handling the case asked me to send him the video. After reviewing it, he sent me back this email, which reads in part, Mr. Reed's anger and frustration was certainly understandable given what happened inside the store. He just got beat up by 4 people and he's being taken into custody by the police. So I've decided to use my discretion as a prosecutor and not go forward with this case. Scott Reed has no idea what's in store until we break the news to him.
Well, guess what? I got an email right here from the Assistant Commonwealth Attorney that says he's using his discretion to drop all the charges against you.
Oh, that would really make me feel good. I'm just lost for words. It just overwhelms me with joy that, you know, that the truth is going to get out and this thing can be, you know, done, squashed forever.
And that's just what happened when we went into court together. Charges dropped.
I think 8 on my side. I thank you.
A happy ending for this big rig driver who says he can now keep on trucking knowing justice is served. In Richmond, AJ Legault, 8 News.
Get that! Get it out my face!
An angry Sheila Houchins lashes out at reporters following her son's sentencing.
Get off of me, okay? I'm gonna knock the hell out one of y'all if y'all don't get the hell out my face.
Today she gave tearful testimony on her son's behalf, telling the judge Ramon is a people person, funny, friendly, helpful, and sweet, and that the home invasion he was convicted of is not in his nature. In May 2010, Houchins broke into the home of Lois Rawson, his 87-year-old neighbor, and beat her so brutally she was blinded in one eye.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes. Please get the police for me. A man just broke in my home. He's beat me up.
That was part of the 911 call Rawson made minutes after her attack. Now she needs daily care, no longer able to live on her own. Today in court, Houchins made an apology to Mrs. Rawson, though she wasn't there to hear it. But her son Monty was, and he wasn't impressed.
All the pain and suffering that he's inflicted on my mother, he can say what he wants, but an apology is not enough for me. What I was looking for is what I received today. I was looking for justice. I was looking for a jail sentence, and I believe the jail sentence that was imposed was a fair sentence.
Good afternoon. I'm AJ Legault in the 8 newsroom. We're breaking in with special coverage. An earthquake that measured 5.8 on the Richter scale hit just outside of Mineral, Virginia. It hit about 9 miles outside of Mineral, Virginia just a short time ago. There are a number of evacuations taking place.
This is the Fay Towers elderly home. 250 people live inside. When the earthquake happened, fire crews say that one of the stairwells, several floors, buckled between the first and second floor and between the third and fourth floor. That happened in this tan brick tower right here on the edge. Because of that, crews didn't know how stable the building was, so they immediately evacuated everybody from inside. That was quite complex, as this is a home for elderly people.
The dogs were starting to go crazy when the house was shaking. The floors were like going up and down, and then all of a sudden we went outside to look, thought it was a truck or something, and then we heard a big crash and part of the parapet fell down.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And is this that right behind you?
Absolutely.
We're going live now to pictures from the North Anna Nuclear Power Station. We're told the Dominion has shut down the reactors there as a precaution because the earthquake's epicenter was so close.
Here at Gilboa Christian Church, the earthquake buckled and crumbled brick walls. This building's been standing since 1834. We're up on the roof of one home in Cuckoo that actually had 4 chimneys come crashing down. This one, you can see what happened is this old mortar just crumbled away when that quake struck. This chimney crashed all the way through the roof, landing in the room below.
Our top story today is Hurricane Irene. It is approaching Virginia as we speak.
That's right. We begin with team coverage this morning. Matt and Jason are standby tracking Irene's path, plus Catherine Hawley. She's over at the Virginia Department of Emergency Management with more on how you can stay safe during the storm.
But right now, we want to join AJ Legault live in Deltaville this morning. Irene could cause the most severe damage in the Commonwealth there later today. Good morning, AJ.
Morning, Amy, Morgan. Really a rainy, kind of windy morning here in Virginia's Middle Peninsula.
And yes, this is Midlothian Turnpike behind me. You can see just how high the water is. Some cars trying to make their way through here. And this is what they're warning folks to stay out of. If you do come out on these roads, this is very, very dangerous. It's a situation that can turn bad very quickly. You can see just how high this water is. It's up to about halfway up my shin.
We've actually seen a lot of downed trees, a lot of downed branches that have actually shut down the road. This entire block has been shut down, and this is one of the biggest trees that we've actually seen that has been completely demolished.
The winds are definitely picking up here at the Outer Banks. We're out on the beach where one of the huge problems is the sand that is continually blowing. It feels like a million needles are just stabbing into your hands, your face.
You can see that this tree has completely crushed 2 cars in this driveway, one work van and also their personal car.
Winds are now pounding on shore, driving massive waves here into the bank of the Rappahannock River. The water is flowing up past a number of these riverfront homes. The flooding is going to be severe.
It's expected now at low tide to calm down a little, but tonight it's going to increase even more. Now, some of these houses up here are definitely being damaged. This one up here, if we can see it, the shingles are just peeling off.
At least one large sailboat has fallen victim to Irene, sinking to the bottom not far from the mouth of the bay.
Welcome to 8 News at 11. We have breaking news tonight. A 9-year-old autistic boy is missing in Hanover after running off here at North Anna Battlefield Park. Our 8 News reporter Dara Copley is live in Hanover with the latest on the search. Dara?
Well, 8 hours and counting as the search continues for this 9-year-old Caroline boy. Robbie Wood Jr. was last seen just before 3 this afternoon.
889 volunteers were registered and trained today and deployed to the search area by bus. We learned the search area now extends well beyond the 80-acre North Anna Battlefield Park. It's now about 3 miles wide. Over 940 volunteers showed up at Kings Dominion today ready to search. About 200 of them were return volunteers. They loaded up on 15 buses for deployment, and we caught up with one of those teams.
Line forward!
They're searching a grid south of Verdon Road near Sleepy Hollow Lane.
Y'all don't forget to be looking left and right.
Yesterday, nearly 1,000 people showed up at Kings Dominion to volunteer. Today, numbers were still strong at over 921. Nearly 200 of them were return volunteers.
This is like 3.5 days. He probably hasn't had a meal.
8-year-old Robert Wood has been found alive.
A miracle in Hanover. 8 News was on air, online, and on Facebook.
This is where the 6-day massive search for Robert Wood came to an end. Behind me here, where you see these police cars parked, that is Misty Morning Lane. Down a gravel road there, just west of the Doswell Quarry, is where Robert was found alive. Now, police are still keeping us quite a distance back from that area, but 8 News has exclusive video of Robert being airlifted to VCU Medical Center. He's being treated there now. We hear he's in good condition. We hear he smiled when he saw his family.
Phil, only 2 words on everybody's mind down here at the Siegel Center tonight, and that is Final Four. We got a quickly growing crowd. Very quickly growing crowd, very rambunctious crowd out here tonight. And check this out. Our good friends at the Times-Dispatch have already made up the posters. Final Four. Let's see the other side, guys. There is about 200 people out here already gathered, and it's quickly growing as the line's starting to stretch on down around the block. Getting here ready to welcome the Rams back home. You hear them? They're pretty excited. How excited are you guys to have a Final Four team here at VCU?
I'm super excited. This is my freshman year. I never expected something like this. I have no words to describe it. I just went crazy tonight.
And what would you have to say to the team, the coach? They're all going to be back here in about an hour and a half.
That they have done amazing so far, and that I hope they keep this run up, because it's doing a lot for this city, the university. It's just amazing what they're doing right now.
It's cold out here, everybody's chilly, but you've been in line for a couple hours.
I have, but it's totally worth the wait because, like I said, everyone's proud of this team right now, and I think that, you know, when they come back, they deserve a nice welcoming, back to their city.
Sounds good, guys. There you go, there's the final word out here. Now, I actually just heard from a little birdie. He tells me that the plane is going to land carrying the VCU team. It's going to land out at the airport around 12:30. They're supposed to be over here about 1:15 this morning, and this crowd could not be more excited. Now, if you think this is a wild crowd, you should have seen it right after they beat Kansas. Chelsea Washington has more on that.
Fans literally dancing in the streets today following VCU's big win against Kansas. Calling it a big win doesn't even do it justice. Students could not contain their excitement as they poured onto Broad Street to celebrate.
No one was a believer. I'm a VCU student myself, and I was skeptical. I was skeptical about how far we making it in the championship. But we made it this far, and I'm on the bandwagon. What can I say?
The entire city is going berserk over this. People are honking when they see people with, black and yellow on. Just everyone is mad excited. I can't sleep at night. It's just too much.
2,000 students packed the Siegel Center to watch the most important game in the school's history. Fans cheered on every make and felt every miss, down to the final buzzer. The overjoyed students say what makes the win even sweeter is that most people had counted VCU out, especially when it came to taking on the #1 seed, Kansas.
Many doubt us, but by now you know about us. We are going to the Final Four. It's official.
I don't care what nobody says. Nothing can stop us now. We're beating Butler.
The after-game celebration continued in Monroe Park as thousands of students flooded the area with one thing on their mind. In Richmond, Chelsea Washington, 8 News.
And you see the scene has not changed much in the last few hours. We're going to send it back to you guys, but leave the last word with the crowd.
8 News at 11 starts now.
And then the police pulled up and they opened his car door, and when they opened it, he just fell out towards the ground, and then they immediately started reviving him.
2 dead, including a police officer, as a gunman opens fire at Virginia Tech. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Christina Ferrick.
And I'm Juan Condi. We've just learned the name of the police officer who was killed, Derek Kraus of Christiansburg. Kraus joined the department there at Tech in 2007. He leaves behind a wife and 5 children. The 39-year-old, we're told, was shot during a routine traffic stop, but by a third party, not the person who was pulled over. One other person has also been found dead. Our team coverage from Blacksburg tonight begins with 8 News reporter Dara Copley live. Dara?
The entire shooting was captured on the officer's dash cam video. State police is now reviewing that video. Investigators remain on the scene trying to figure out a motive to this murder. Within minutes, officers responded here when a traffic stop turned deadly for Virginia Tech police officer Derek Kraus of Christiansburg near the Lane Stadium in the Castle Coliseum.
Shortly before 12:30 p.m., Virginia Tech police received its first call advising that they had witnessed a subject approach the officer and fire a weapon at the officer and then leave the scene.
Police tell us the shooter was not the driver that was stopped, but another man that had nothing to do with the traffic stop.
An officer in that area observed a person and chose to make contact with them, and then by the time they turned around and located the subject, that subject was deceased.
Investigators also found a gun near the body. There are reports that police believe the gunman apparently shot himself, but police will not confirm the information, though they are saying they believe the community is safe.
No additional victims or shooting reports have been given to the police department. So we feel confident that the situation is under control at this time.
But this is just another tragedy on the Virginia Tech campus. The Hokie community continues to lean on one another, and as well as a candlelight visual is planned at 6:30 tonight to remember Derek Kraus. Now, this just comes nearly 5 years after the deadliest shooting rampage in U.S. history, where 32 people lost their lives. 8 News reporter Nate Eaton continues our team coverage with student reaction.
A frightening couple of hours for the students and faculty here at Virginia Tech this afternoon. Many students staying inside of their dorm rooms, not leaving their apartments as they anxiously awaited any updates.
You see someone in the hall and they're like, there's been gunshots.
It's a day Virginia Tech students will never forget.
It's just unreal how real it actually is.
Around 12:30, a siren sounds and an alert is immediately sent to everyone on campus.
First, I was a little bit worried and jittery, and flashbacks to the news coverage of the 2007 shooting.
The university is instantly locked down. Students go home and stay for several hours.
All we did was sit in our rooms, had our doors shut, and just watched the news all day.
I was terrified. I mean, one of my good friends from my church was here on April 16th.
All day long here on campus, a heavy police perimeter surrounding the entire university. In fact, many students were parked in parking lots like this one. They didn't have access to their cars for several hours while the lockdown was in place.
This is the highest concentration of police I've ever seen.
The lockdown was lifted around 5 p.m. Students were able to leave their dorms, many grateful, knowing that today could have been worse, but still sad over what happened.
We are Virginia Tech. We will prevail, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Many students we spoke with say they were very impressed with how well the university kept them informed during the entire situation. Now, with more on that, continuing our team coverage, here's 8 News reporter Caitlin Sherwood.
the first shooting deaths on Virginia Tech's campus since the tragedy in 2007. And today, officials talked about what has changed since then with using their school alert emergency system.
The communication systems that we have at our disposal today did not exist on April 16, 2007.
Today, police received the first call for a shooting on campus at 12:30, and just minutes later, the first alerts were sent out. In 2007, Virginia Tech was heavily criticized for not sending out enough information as the events unfolded. Officials say today that was certainly not the case.
We continued to use the VT alerts, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, including the stand-down notification. 6 times we notified our community through the alerts.
Police say even though extra measures have been put in place to ensure the community's safety, there will never be a way to make it completely secure.
Understand that in a community of this size, the complexity of the number of buildings, a lockdown, as the public frequently likes to refer to, is simply an impossibility.
Overall, Virginia Tech's president says he's pleased with the systems that have been put in place since the lessons learned from the 2007 tragedy. In Blacksburg, Caitlin Sherwood, 8 News.
The Washington Post has been documenting today's Virginia Tech tragedy in photos. Here you can see a heavy police presence on campus today. This is the SWAT team preparing for action. Let's take a look at another photo here. You see students on their cell phones, some of them probably calling their family members to tell them they're okay, others snapping images of the scene that they are seeing on campus today. In this photo, we see a sign that says Squires Student Center is on lockdown. The campus was on lockdown for most of the afternoon today. I even heard several reports of students being escorted to the bathroom there at the Squires Student Center. That's how seriously they were taking things today. And I just want to show you one more image here as we close out. Again, you can see the heavy police presence on campus, an officer there with a gun in hand looking for a suspect at the time. So certainly a tense situation on the campus of Virginia Tech today. Carrie O'Brien, 8 News.
Do not leave this room until you're told. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That's cell phone video posted on YouTube today, capturing some of the moments immediately following today's shooting and the school lockdown. There you heard an officer telling students and staff to stay put. This video lasts about 3.5 minutes and was taken from Torgerson Bridge or Torgerson Hall, again sometime after the shootings took place.
And let's take a look at the scene this evening. Some pictures as about 150 students gathered for a candlelight vigil. The students showed up on a field facing the Stone Plaza Memorial for the victims of the 2007 massacre. Though the official candlelight vigil was actually moved to tomorrow evening, many came out and turned out anyway to show their support for what has happened there on their campus at Virginia Tech.
And here's a look at how everything really sort of happened. The first report of shots fired came in right around 12:37 here at the Castle Coliseum parking lot on campus where that police officer was killed. And about 10 minutes later, the suspect was seen near the Cage, which is what they call a parking lot near Duck Pond Drive. And that's in this location here. That was around 12:47. That's where police found the body of a man a short time later at 1:12. He'd been shot, and a gun was discovered near the body. Authorities will not confirm again tonight whether that was the person who killed the officer. Governor McDonnell released a statement about today's shooting. It reads in part, Virginia Tech is a university of great resolve, and I have no doubt that the students, alumni, and faculty of this proud institution will emerge from this sad day stronger and more united than ever before. There will continue to be needs in the days ahead as we move forward from this situation, and I will ensure that those needs are met completely and fully by the Commonwealth.
This shooting happened on the same day that Virginia Tech is appealing a $55,000 fine for waiting more than 2 hours to alert the campus that 2 students had been shot to death in the dorm back in 2007. By then, gunman Sunwee Cho had killed 30 more people. Parents say their children would have stayed off campus had they known about the first crime. Of course, this is a story we will continue to follow right here on 8 News. We have several crews there in Blacksburg, as you have heard. We'll bring you updates on air, on Facebook, and at WRIC.com.
We also have a developing story, breaking news now in Caroline County, where Virginia State Police are investigating a trooper-involved shooting on southbound I-95. 8 News reporter Josh Landon has the latest from the scene.
Virginia State Police say the shooting happened around 3:24 this afternoon near mile marker 116 on the right shoulder of I-95 southbound. The incident involved senior trooper Michael Hammer and one suspect. Authorities say the trooper was shot in the leg and is expected to be okay, but the suspect, who was also shot, has serious life-threatening injuries. Both are being treated at Mary Washington Hospital in Fredericksburg. Right now, police are not providing many details on the events leading up to the shooting.
There was an interaction with the suspect on the right shoulder of the interstate here in Caroline County. We're still determining the facts that led up to the incident and the interaction with the suspects.
Police say a Good Samaritan was driving on the interstate and saw the trooper injured and stopped to help. You can see from the sky the scene remained active for several hours.
Everybody takes that seriously. You know, we have one of our brothers that is injured in line of duty. It's every day we come out here, it's very serious what we do. We protect the public, and this is the nature of our job. But fortunately, the trooper suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries.
In Caroline County, Josh Landon, 8 News.
I am a 3-time survivor and a current fighter.
A local motivational speaker is busted, accused of faking cancer to obtain money. Our 8 News investigative reporter AJ Legault has been working on the story for months and joins us now live with exclusive details. AJ.
Christina, this really is a sad story. It's rocking the local cancer community, but Hanover detectives and our own 8 News investigation into Martha Ann Nicholas has been underway since early this year, and it culminated with her arrest last night.
I am still here.
Yeah. Her story,
cancer's trying to steal me,
has motivated thousands.
Martha, you are my hero, and you inspire me to never give up and never surrender.
But now it seems her story,
my diagnosis is terminal.
Maybe just that.
Each night, I wonder if it will be the last.
A story to obtain money.
It's been just really heartwarming, and yes, we've raised over $10,000.
This is a search warrant we obtained. In it, a Hanover detective alleges that Martha Ann Nicholas was collecting donations based on a medical condition that she did not have. When detectives tried to question her in April, they were denied access because of her alleged illness. But here is Nicholas leading a Relay for Life event in Innsbruck in July. At the event, she was selling Cancer Sucks t-shirts and Believe in Miracles necklaces. Knowing she was under investigation, 8 News questioned her about her fundraising.
We have these Cancer Sucks t-shirts, and we're asking for $20 for the t-shirts, but whatever you can give, we take.
Many in the crowd were wearing Martha's orange t-shirts.
I'm so glad to see all of you with your orange t-shirts here to support Martha. I was 22 years old when I was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. Back then, I didn't even know what an oncologist was.
That may be because she isn't being treated by one.
Every hour, every day, every week, and every month of that chemotherapy.
Court documents show, and our own investigation uncovered, that Nicholas never has been a patient of the doctors she claims are treating her.
We do not have a patient in our system by the name of Martha Nicholas that goes by the birth date October 1969, and that's for VCU health system as a whole.
Never a patient at any VCU-affiliated medical facility. Nicholas could also never provide us with a single photo of her appearing to have cancer, even when she was profiled for a story in support of the American Cancer Society.
This life that I've lived may seem surreal to so many people.
Here's something surreal. From public hero to suspected con man. Nicholas was released on her own recognizance after her arrest, but we found her home phone disconnected.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected.
And no one answered the door when we paid her home a visit.
Not home or not coming to the door.
Nicholas is going to be arraigned on charges of obtaining money by false pretenses next week. Today, the community reacting to the charges brought against Nicholas, who is heavily involved in the American Cancer Society and their Relay for Life events. Now, many of those who believed in her and helped raise money for her medical bills are feeling cheated, saying they can't believe someone would fake having cancer.
I'm hurt from the standpoint that I feel like I was gotten over on. I mean, there was someone I was legitimately praying for, in and out, you know, and would even send messages, hope you're doing well, was just wanted to let you know, was thinking about you, or, you know, her encouraging words that she'd post on Facebook were so uplifting, it made you want to be a better person.
The American Cancer Society tells 8 News people who made donations to the American Cancer Society through Nicholas's volunteer efforts can rest assured that that money was used to fund the Society's mission to save lives from cancer. John, over to you.
All right, AJ, it is a little chilly outside here in Central Virginia this evening. Not much of a breeze, so it doesn't make it feel that bad, but the air temperature's down to 35 degrees for us here. 31 degrees in Charlottesville. Looks like we'll bottom out right here. Only about 4 degrees or so cooler for right now, checking in at 31. 27 degrees in Charlottesville will be one of the coldest spots across here. Some high thin clouds coming over, so that's going to kind of slow down the rate of fall of temperatures. As far as your Friday is concerned, start you off 35 degrees at 8 a.m. Partly sunny skies. Temperatures should make it into the low to mid 50s during the afternoon hours. We'll look ahead to the weekend. It'll be chilly. Coming up next.
Welcome back. A former area cheerleading coach acquitted a decade ago of child molestation charges is facing new charges in Henrico. 8 News reporter Kim Schumacher has the story.
This is a 2001 mugshot of Maurice Moe Gerald. A decade ago, he was a cheerleading and tumbling coach at Spirit Station gyms in Henrico and Chesterfield when he was accused of sexual misconduct with 2 students. He denied the allegations and was strongly supported by many of his students and their parents.
It is totally, as far as I'm concerned, bogus accusations. There is no possible way.
Ultimately, he was exonerated of all charges.
I can finally hold my head up high now, instead of kind of walking around with my head down the whole time, wondering what people are saying about me.
Now, a decade later, a new mugshot. Last month, Gerald was indicted in Henrico on 8 new charges of taking indecent liberties with underage girls while in a supervisory role. Details of the allegations aren't available, but court records show the alleged acts involved 2 girls, one under age 18, the other under age 15, between September 2007 and June 2010. According to authorities, Gerald was arrested in Prince William County, where he currently lives. A website shows Gerald was hired in May to coach at a gym in Maryland. Calls to Gerald's attorney have also not been returned. Gerald is being held in Henrico without bond. In Henrico, Kim Schumacher, 8 News.
Well, into the weather we go this evening. It is cooler than it's been the past several nights over the area, but we do have a little thin blanket of clouds beginning to pass over us. That's going to prevent our temperatures from completely tumbling tonight. It's still going to be a lot chillier than we've seen in a while here across the area. Outside right now, we're down at some of our lowest temperatures of the day, 35 degrees for us. Look at Louisa, down to 28, 31 degrees in Charlottesville, 34 degrees in Fredericksburg, and Ashland checking in at 30. We are headed down into the upper 20s to the lower 30s tonight. I think with the clouds around, we'll bottom out right around 31 degrees for us. Head further to the west, and of course, you're going to the Shenandoah Valley, and we're looking at some temperatures mid to upper 20s for you out there. So let's turn the page and head into your Friday morning here across Central Virginia. When you wake up, for a Friday is generally going to be a day that's going to have a mixture of sunshine and cloudiness across the area. A lot of high, thin clouds through there. You see them passing through. Take you into the afternoon hours, and I'll call for seasonable temps, low to mid 50s here across the region. Then as we head into your Friday night, there is going to be a cold front that's going to pass through here. That's going to bring our winds around to the northwest. You see all these clouds streaming by as we head into Saturday. Saturday, we'll start the day off. It's going to turn into a mostly sunny day for you. Pretty nice day across the area, but cool. And you see the clear skies by the time we get to Saturday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday evening. It's going to set us up for a cold night Saturday night into Sunday with early morning temperatures down in the middle 20s across the area. So Friday looks like this. Partly cloudy skies expected. 35 degrees at 8 a.m. 54 degrees the high temperature. Low to mid 50s throughout the afternoon hours. We're nice and dry through the weekend. A little chilly Sunday and Monday morning, and chilly Sunday afternoon also. A gradual warming trend through most of next week. Rain maybe on Friday.
Darius Garrett is the only Spider that's played double-digit minutes. The last time Richmond played VCU at the Siegel Center 2 years ago. It's not an easy environment to play in, as this young team will find out quickly Friday night.
It's going to be loud. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's a passionate fan base, and but that makes the games better. I think that's why you come to play college basketball, to be able to test yourself and against great teams and great atmospheres.
I haven't played there yet. Heard so many stories about it. You know, the class from last year, Justin used to always tell me about it. It's a tough place to play, and it gets real loud.
And it's going to be crazy, man. I mean, we love coming in here playing in the Siegel Center and stuff like that. But I mean, it's not too many guys come out here with a W. So you know, it's definitely a beast tomorrow.
By the time you get to college, you know, you've played against high-level competition. You've played in tough environments at different places. But you know, hopefully the Siegel Center does provide a unique experience for our visitors. But at the same time, the home court advantage is not by itself going to win the game for us. I mean, we have to be the aggressors.
As new Spider head football coach Danny Rocco begins his career with the Spiders, he has no regrets about leaving his post at Liberty University, and he shouldn't. The measure of success for Rocco isn't conference titles or wins, of which he has plenty. It's that he leaves the program in a better position than when he got there.
I feel really good about that. It was a special place for me, changed my life in a lot of different ways, and it has been able to learn, grow as a coach, as a man, and you know, take some of the things that I've learned on the job here as I continue to move my career forward.
More sports coming up after a short break. After hours on the practice field, the classroom, and the weight room, the Goochland Bulldogs just 48 minutes away from an undefeated season and a state championship. The Dogs travel to Salem Saturday for a title matchup with Gretna. Goochland won handily over Wilson Memorial 47-21 in the semifinal round on Saturday. Now they turn their attention to a Gretna team that knocked off Amelia in the other semifinal matchup. As practice winds down, head coach Joe Fowler says it's the little things that'll make Goochland successful on Saturday.
At this point in the season, you're not really putting any new things in. You're just kind of fine-tuning and making adjustments based on the other team. You don't have to waste a lot of time with conditioning because you're not going to get in a lot better shape with 3 days of practice left in the season. So you're able to concentrate on doing the little things right, and hopefully we can polish up a little bit and be ready to go.
22 years ago, Jerry DiPoto was striking out batters for the VCU Rams. Today, he's wheeling and dealing as the general manager of the Los Angeles Angels. That's DiPoto on the right. This summer, when he was still with the Arizona Diamondbacks, he took over as GM of the Angels at the end of October, and he didn't waste any time making a splash. Today, the Angels landed the top free agent in baseball, Albert Pujols, signing the slugger to a 10-year, $250+ million deal. The Angels also completed a free agent deal for star lefty C.J. Wilson, a strong candidate for the American League Cy Young. That's your Sports Time for Laura, but here are your winning lottery numbers.
Okay, the warm temperatures earlier this week really spoiled us. Now it's back to reality. Get ready for a sunny but chilly weekend. Some overnight low temperatures in the mid to upper 20s.
All right, thank you, John. Thanks so much for being with us tonight and all day long with what's happening at Virginia Tech. We'll have updates tomorrow on Good Morning Richmond. I'm Christina Ferrick.
And I'm Juan Condi. Thanks for being with us indeed. We'll see you tomorrow. Nightline.